Hello, everybody, and welcome on the Commerce Show. Today, I'm really excited to introduce you to Francois Leclerc, head of the initiative called Peel 3D. So, from Creaform, Peel 3D is an affordable 3D scanner that is leading the market at the moment. François has been a mechanical engineer for a long time, so he has been at Creaform for the last 14 years. And in 2017, he has accepted the challenge, actually the entrepreneurial challenge, to move forward into Peel 3D. So he's built basically the business from the ground up with using an old product that he transformed and adapt to a new market. And it was really exciting to hear all his knowledge and experience about that. We've talked about web marketing, so email flows. We've talked about how e-market on social network is product, but also all the structure behind it and the reflex he developed with using the lean startup business model. So it was really interesting. I'm pretty sure you will enjoy this episode. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube and Spotify to be notified each time we release a new episode. Thank you for being with us, and the podcast starts right now. Hello, everybody, and welcome on the Commerce Show. Today, I'm very happy to receive François Leclerc from Peel 3D, Creaform. Hello, François. How are you?
Hey, Phil. Good morning. Very good.
Good morning, everybody that is listening. All right, so let's start right now in the questions. So I know you started your career as a mechanical engineer since 2008 at Creaform, and in 2017 you made a switch that I think was a big switch in your career due to an internal opportunity at Creaform called Peel 3D. Since then, you become the head of the initiative. Can you tell us a little bit more about this business, actually? So what is Peel 3D and why you've decided to jump into this new journey?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot in this question, so I'll try to answer it the best I can. Yeah. So I did study in mechanical engineering, which back then seemed like the most interesting thing to me. But I think I rapidly came to realize that I was more of a marketing guy. So started to work at Creaform in 2008, as you mentioned. And within about 2 years, I think I joined the marketing team as a product manager, where I stood for most of my career then. And yeah, as a product manager, your goal is kind of to drive the business and to develop the business, and so that's what I was trying to do at Creaform. And for a few years, maybe I had this idea of bringing kind of an affordable solution into the Creaform portfolio, because at Creaform we sell high-end quality 3D scanners for kind of an B2B approach for huge companies like automotive companies and very famous companies all around the world. And so our approach is quite different, but I had the feeling that an affordable 3D solution would be interesting to a different side of the market. So I had the feeling that it would work, and I would always propose this idea at the executive board, but their answers was always the same: is if we do this, how much are we going to sell, and how is it
Mhm.
going to work? And unfortunately,
Yeah,
I did not have the answer back then. And
of
so
course.
yeah, and so I would wait, and I let it sit for a while, and then came this idea of after a training that I got, and I guess we'll talk about this a little later.
Oh, yes.
But came the idea of bringing this project kind of into a lean startup approach. And you know, back then Peel 3D was born, and that's what I pitched to the executive. They were favorable to the project, and so in 2017 I started this thing called Peel 3D. It was only a small project back then, but it really took off, and that's what I'm doing full time now at Creaform.
So you basically dropped the previous job to start a new venture into Creaform and manage everything. So building the e-commerce, building the marketing strategy to sell your project, but sell also the product to your customer. Let's go back a little bit in the history. So you have a pretty nice professional background, but can you highlight us a few great achievements? I always like to ask that question at the beginning to our listeners, and maybe you can pinpoint a few things in few milestones in the process of building Peel 3D. But I might be interested to hear that.
Well, yeah, of course, when you worked on something uh, like Peel 3D, it's hard to think of anything else as an achievement, because there's this thing I'm so proud of. But as part of the marketing team, and as part of the product management team at Creaform, I stayed there for about 10 years, and so we really saw the company go from a relatively small business to a large scale business. And being part of the different launch events that we did, the different presentations that we did all around the world, I really feel lucky to have been part of this progress of the company, and to witness these small scale events go to very large ones, you know booking large hotels with hundreds of resellers all around the world, and doing
That's exciting.
presentations in front of hundreds of people from all around the world. And I did this, well, of course, here in Quebec, but we also traveled to Asia, to Europe, and of course very often to the US. A lot of different destinations, and I really feel blessed to have been part of this. I mean, it was an incredible experience, highly valuable, and I learned so much out of this.
That's exciting. And for our
Yeah.
listener, how much employees are there at Creaform?
It's it's always hard to estimate, because the company is always growing. I know we're over 500. I think we're getting close to
Wow.
600 employees worldwide. Yeah. So
And when
they're
you started,
mainly.
you started, you were around how much?
I think we were around 100 when I
Oh,
joined the
okay. Already.
company. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So the company had its first breakthrough. So the first handy scan, first generation handy scan, had been around for a couple of years.
Okay.
But still, back then we were a business, about $25 million size business. And
Okay.
nowadays we're more in the 150 $160 million business size, so it gives you an idea. And yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
we
That's
came a long
that's
way.
that's really interesting. And in the Peel project, how much people does work? Because at the beginning you were the only one, and
Yeah.
then you build up a team around you. I know people are working from outside of Quebec also on the project. Uh, so how much are you?
Well, yeah. The Peel 3D team is meant to be a small team at Creaform, but
Hmm.
yeah, I started by myself. I used to be doing everything, and the team had progressively grew over the past few years, and we are now 6 people working full time on the initiative. So this is yeah, this is a pretty big achievement for me. I'm pretty happy
Yes.
with
Oh,
this.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
And we can say that you are an entrepreneur. So building a business inside a business.
Mhm.
And I would love to know, how you started to be an e-commerce entrepreneur, because you're selling, most of your sales are online. So how did you start the project? What were the steps you put in place to build that project and make sure you're gonna have success?
Yeah, so when I started, of course, I was all by myself. I had this a scanner on a shelf that had been originally designed for medical purposes, but to me it felt like it could do more, and so that's the product that I brought into Peel 3D. And so we created a brand, we created the image, and one of the requirements from the executive at Creaform was not to be a distraction. They told me, okay, you can do your Peel 3D thing. You can start selling in a different market. We don't mind, but we don't want this to be a distraction to our sales team. So of course, I couldn't tap into the sales network that we had.
Okay,
Because we
that's
at
important.
Creaform we have a direct sales network, so we have Creaform employees that are doing sales all over the world,
Okay,
and we have an indirect sales network as well. So we have partners, we have resellers,
of
and
course.
so this is a very vast sales network. And so once we put a product out there, we know it's going to sell through this network because we have people all around the world representing, demonstrating, and pushing this technology to their own customers, and then it makes it very fast and very efficient at selling a product. But unfortunately, on my end, I couldn't tap into that network because I had to manage all by myself, and so I was kind of left alone. And so it seemed obvious to go on the web, to go on the internet for selling, because that was kind of my only option, and it felt like it could be done in a relatively cheap way. The only thing is, well, of course, if you're selling affordable products out there, it going over the internet seems pretty obvious. But
Yeah.
we were launching a professional grade 3D scanner, and it's still a couple of $1,000s. So I wasn't sure it was going to work, and but still, we went for the e-commerce approach, and started this whole thing, and it was a success. So yeah,
What's the price point, just for a listener to understand? So you're selling scanners,
yeah.
accessories. So what's the product offer, just to understand well what you're selling, so people are going to be able to relate, or not, if they're selling
the
a high price
the
point.
the original Peel 3D scanner came out at $6,000. So that was the original product we came up with, and since then we've launched several different models. They perform better, offer better performance for different applications, and I'd say the entire offer goes from, it started at 6,000 and goes up to $10,000. And so this might seem quite expensive for a 3D scanner, but just bear with me. Keep in mind that these scanners would, a couple of years ago, would sell for 25, 30, $40,000, and even higher. So that was quite a big leap for us, and really a game changer when it came to professional grade 3 scanning.
Yeah. And was it? Have you decided to do that, to launch Build 3D, because you were seeing competition and you were seeing a new niche in the market, or it was just okay? Let's start something and see if we can target new type of customers, or more B2C oriented type of marketing.
Well, I'd say, to be honest, for a few years I had the feeling that it would be interesting to come up with a more affordable option for 3D scanners. But yeah, back in 2017, we were starting to see, lower end competitors come up to the market with um, 3D scanners that seemed to perform well and for quite an affordable price. And back then, I was in charge of the GoScan 3D line of product that
Okay.
actually became the Peel 3D line of product. Um,
So
but
you're really an expert of that type
yeah,
of
yeah,
scanner.
yeah, exactly. And but back then our scanners would sell for 25, $30,000, as I was saying. And
Mhm.
we had competitors coming up with scanners at a few $1,000s, 4 or 5 thousand. And so it kind of put us in a difficult position, and
Mhm.
that's also what led us to make a move, and to change things, and come up with a completely different models. But of course, uh, what we were doing selling scanners at this price is we were having sort of a special business approach with our customers. You don't sell a $25,000 scanner over the internet, of course. So we would get in touch with customers, have discussions with them, travel on site for a demonstration. You know, really make sure that the product would fit for his application. So it was quite a big shift for us. And this is
Of
something
course.
coming up with very aggressive pricing. We had to cut somewhere, and so that's what we did with with the business model. And so that's where things changed, and that's where we started doing things on the e-commerce side of things. So we just had a few different videos on the internet. We had a website. We had a brochure, basically, and if people were to call, we would answer their questions, but that was kind of it.
Mhm.
And one thing that we put out there that was quite successful into uh, making people comfortable purchasing their scanner was the 100% satisfaction guaranteed policy. And so
Okay.
this is something that we came up with because some people were hesitating, they were not sure they were willing to make the investment initially. And so what we did is we came up with a trial period. So we basically told customers, purchase your scanner, have it shipped on site, and once you get it, you have 15 business days, so essentially 3 weeks, um, to try it, test it directly into your application, make sure that it works as per your expectations, and if not, let us know, and we'll take it back and give you a full refund on your purchase. And so that really secured a lot of customers that were
Of
hesitating
course.
initially. And
That's
we Peel 3D was a newcomer out there. People weren't aware that it was provided by Creaform, which
yep.
has a solid background,
Yep.
and so that really comforted a lot of customers initially. And yeah, we actually very few units came back that way. People would
Mm.
purchase them, try them, and be satisfied with them. So,
I'm sure you got more sales because of that
oh, a
instead
lot
of
more, yeah.
just counting the returns you had. And of course, I guess you had implemented a process if someone reached out because they weren't satisfied by the product or by the application they needed. You can either upsell them to another product to Creaform team, or also just explain them how to use the product. So I'm sure you minimize the the return risk in
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
process.
Well, of course, being part of Creaform, that lets us, as you said, that lets us upsell. So there's always a possibility of getting a full credit and moving upwards in the Creaform line of product, which is something unusual for a business like PO3D, because usually you'd sell your best product, but that's actually our entry level product at PO.
Yeah,
And but yeah, and having this satisfaction policy as well, it let us have a word with our customers, because
yep.
some people just initially did not feel comfortable with the scanner and wanted to return them. And so we always took this opportunity as kind of an opportunity for us to convince them and instruct them on how to use their scanner properly. And we actually reconverted a lot of customers that initially wanted to return their scanners, and we actually convinced them to keep it, and now they're really satisfied with the product they purchased.
That's really interesting. And
Yeah.
for our listeners that will check your website or your branding, I know it's outside of my questions that I planned, but I have to ask you that. How did you came up with the banana in your logo, and why have you decided to go into a more funky, funny design instead of the traditional Creaform, more industrial look and seriousness of the brand? So why have you decided to do that? And do you think, looking backward, that this strategy served you well and still help you to grow the brand?
Yeah, well, I like to think it did. I gotta say that as myself, I like to do things differently, and I think it's a nice way to be different from the competition and be different with your offer. And so, of course, that was one of the initial motivation. And yeah, I think that Peel 3D started as a lab at Creaform, so something that we would put out there to do things differently and to try different things. And yeah, so that was part of the initial motivation. And I remember, back then, just a little before launching the Peel 3D line of product, I was actually looking for a name for that business, because we knew we would not commercialize it under the Creaform brand.
Hmm.
And so I was looking for kind of a metaphor, basically something that would describe what we do in a short, punchy way. And so I was having breakfast, and I actually like to have bananas for breakfast. And looking at a banana, I actually noticed that the skin of the banana, the peel, was kind of a metaphor of a 3D scan, because it's basically the shape of the banana, but it's hollow inside. And so that's where, as silly as that, that's where the idea came from. And the
You
other
were
thing,
really seeking for a name, yeah, during
yeah,
your
yeah,
breakfast.
but
Oh
it was
no.
it was short, it was punchy, and in terms of calligraphy, the Peel 3D, the way it's spelled is actually quite interesting. And another thing that I really liked is looking at the general picture of competitors. They were really into similar colors. So a lot of them were blue or green, or a few of them were red, but none were
Yeah.
yellow. And so I thought, hey, talk about of a way to differentiate yourself
Yeah.
from competition, is coming up with this real bright banana yellow is one thing that's going to stand out, when we're doing trade shows, when
Of
we're
course.
displaying it on banners and things like that. So I think it started more as a joke, sort of a silly way, but it felt right, and it took off, and it stayed. So yeah, that's
And
the
turned
whole
out
story
to
of Peel
be
3D.
yeah, and turned out to be a pretty good success. So
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we're going to be entering into more the methodology and how you've realized that success, because I know now you're selling a peel in more than 26 country, I think. So it's pretty interesting to see that you have an international success with the product.
Yeah.
So I know you have like a rapid onboarding, so you have fast process, fast pace at Peel. Can you tell us a little bit more why you're doing that, and how you build your workflows? And yeah, I would be interested to know that.
Yeah. Well, I think that in order to answer that, the first thing we need to talk about is the lean startup approach. Because,
Yes.
if we rewind a little, so just before 2007, 17, I actually, I was doing a training with an institute here in Quebec. And so the topic of the training was the lean startup approach. And so,
Okay.
um, to talk about a bit about the lean startup is basically, well, there's a guy, and I don't remember the name of the author, but
Eric
there's a book
Rice.
out there called the I'm sorry.
Is it Eric Rice?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
that's the guy. That's the guy. Yeah.
thanks to
And
Google.
so he's got a very interesting book on the topic. And basically, the story behind the lean startup is, this guy actually looked at different startups out there. And a lot of startups fail initially, but a certain percentage actually have success. And what he did is he looked into these successful startups, and kind of created a recipe for success. So he's basically, he figured what these businesses were doing right, and he actually noticed that they had a similar pattern. And so he put together kind of a recipe for success. And what's actually interesting with the lean startup approach is it's not limited to startups. It's not limited to small businesses. It's actually something that you can implement into a large business, and that's actually what I did at Creaform. So there's a couple um, good practices. There's a couple good things that you can do in order to make it work, uh, but it does actually work. And so the way that it works is you actually you hold back your initial investment, and you try to come with and what's called an MVP. So it's kind of a value prototype. Basically, it's
Yep.
kind of a mock-up of a product. In my case, I was lucky enough to have a 3D scanner already built, but it
Of
was
course.
not it had not been built for the market. I wanted to commercialize it in it. So right then I knew that not it would not fit all applications. It would not fully satisfy all users, but I knew it was good enough for a start. And so what the lean startup approach tells you is, um, as fast as you can, you come up with your MVP, your prototype, and you get out there in the field and you start validating your hypothesis, and you start you're basically looking for a scalable business model. So you just try things as you go, and build on your successes, and bring your solution, and scale it up. And that's exactly what we did. We started this thing, uh and within once in 2017, when we were given the go for the product, for the product launch,
Yep.
I think it took us 3 months to build the entire thing, to build the marketing, the business, the website, the everything, and we were up and running. And just to give you a comparison,
Yep.
the typically at Creaform, once a product is decided on and we start working on a new product, it takes about 2 years for it to be commercialized. And so,
Wow. So
and of
three
course,
months
the
versus two
yeah,
years.
yeah, it's pretty quick. But of course,
Mm.
the scanner was already built,
Built.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a bit of time saving there. But still, I
Yeah.
mean, it was something. It was quite an achievement. And so, basically, all that to say, um, that's kind of key with the approach that we took with Peel and with the lean startup is, you bring the thing is you never know how things are going to go. You never know if you're going to have success, if your market is going to be ready for your product, if you're going to be able to sell it, if people are going to trust your brand. And so the thing is you can spend months and months and a lot of time, working on your solution, trying to make it perfect for the market you're planning to attack. um, but you never really know if it's going to work until you're out there in the field and trying to get in touch with your customers. And so that's exactly the recommendation into this approach is spend less time trying to figure what the right solution is. Get out there on the field. The customers are going to tell you what they want. And so that's exactly what we did, and that led us to the success that we're having today.
That's really interesting, and I can see right now on Eric's website it says, "Be more innovative, stop wasting people's time," as you said, and be more successful. Lean startup isn't about being cheap, but is about being less wasteful and still doing things that are big. So we do totally get it, and of course, lots of our listeners are gonna buy the book, and I will read it also for sure.
Oh, it's absolutely worth your time. And I don't know if you can put the reference in the video, but
Yep.
yeah, it's a great book. So the Lean Startup,
I
really
will
something to
I will
remember.
share it for sure, and I know that it has been part of your success.
Yeah.
Uh, Talking now about your challenges. So over the last year, with the pandemic situation, and also prior to that, what has been the biggest challenge you faced with your e-commerce store, and how you've solved it this issue?
Well, luckily for us, being part of having an e-commerce solution ever since the beginning, I we've been lucky enough not to have been so much impacted by the global pandemic worldwide. Uh, some companies, some businesses were a lot more affected than others, and it's still a tragedy. But to us, it did not have any major impact on onto our business. But um, I'd say that in terms of challenge, of course, while we're trying to conquer the world with our scanners, and while for a business located here in Quebec, it can be challenging to be all over the world and reach to any potential customers out there, build our name and get the Peel 3D name out there.
Mhm.
We're starting to get recognition now, but there's still a lot to do in that field. And so one thing we came to realize was that most of the traffic we were getting from our website, which was English only, of course,
Of course.
was actually English traffic. So we were getting well, of course, a lot of traffic from Canada and from the US, from the UK too, and from Australia. But other than that, we were not doing so great with countries like France, for instance, or Germany, or a lot of Asian countries.
Yep.
And so, but on the other hand, we it was not in our plans to have the website fully translated into all different languages. Because it's well, first of all, it's actually quite challenging to have a website up and running into a language you don't master, because
Mhm.
you can't do any corrections or any change to the website, and you can't actually know if what's there makes sense, so you always have to go through external resources.
Mhm.
So it was not in our plans to do that, and so it was a challenge to us to generate traffic in other languages than English. And so the solution we came up with was, well, of course, over time we actually developed our reseller network. So we now have close to 100 resellers now, Peel 3D
Wow.
resellers all around the world. Yeah. So
Nice.
we did sign a lot of them, and so of course they're all over in different countries and doing business into their own language, and generating traffic for Peel 3D into their own language. But we still wanted to tap into that process and kind of help them doing business. And so what we came up with was we did about we did a landing page, which we then we then translated to, I think, 10 different languages, and
Hmm.
that we mainly did through our resellers. So we asked for their help, and that's what we're actually working on implementing right now. And so we'll have these different languages up there, and we'll work on generating traffic for the website. So it's kind of an interface between a general search and the English website. So it's kind of,
Okay.
an in between step. And so, depending on the language, depending on the country, depending on a lot of different parameters, we will be able to either redirect traffic towards the English website, or towards partner sites that are doing business
Mm.
in the actual language. So, for
So
instance, we have a great partner in Spain. Um, so the Spanish traffic that comes to our landing page in Spanish will likely redirect towards their website.
that's really interesting where the partner can take care of the sale after
Yeah,
and develop the relation with the client. So that's really interesting. And all again, after 4 years, it's still a lean method to
yeah,
get the most out of your international traffic. So that's really interesting, versus doing moving on Shopify Plus and having all the stores into different languages. I guess in the future, maybe one day you'll do it, but for now, you're more into generating leads and make sure that you can offer service to those customers. And in the future, nobody knows.
well, yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is, we're always looking for the ideal solution with PO3D, and I can't say that we have found exactly the answer to that question yet. And so,
Yep.
as of now, the business model is kind of hybrid. So some sales are direct through our e-commerce platform, and some sales are indirect and going through a reseller network. And these resellers, they're also most of them are also online, so they have their own e-commerce websites as well.
Oh,
And
okay.
some will also sell direct to their own customers. And so, yeah, we're trying to optimize that entire network, that entire sales network, and trying to figure what the ideal solution is. So far things have been great, and I think we'll keep on using that hybrid method for years to come and see, you know, how we should go with that.
And talking about distribution channel, I saw your products are on Amazon Canada and
Yeah.
US. Are there any particular reasons you've decided to go with Amazon, and how it's going, and what leverage you see from Amazon?
Yeah, I think that initially, once when we started the Peel 3D brand, nobody knew us in the world, and I don't think that people were necessarily comfortable purchasing these scanners. And so putting them on Amazon, I think, gave us well, it comforted some of our customers, I think. So some
Okay,
of them felt more comfortable going through Amazon because there's a couple requirements that you need to go through when selling on Amazon. So you're going to get your product. If there's anything going on fishy with your product, you'll have some kind of security. And so I guess it's secured a few of our customers.
yeah,
It's never been one of our major channels,
okay,
and lately, it it hasn't been selling that much. But the reason we keep it on Amazon still is mostly for referencing. So of course, Amazon
okay.
is a huge platform and has, it's one of the most visited website on the planet. So just being there, being listed as a solution out there, we know that some people are going to see it and they're going to go through our website directly
Of
and
course.
order from there. So that's part of the reason we're part of Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw doing my research that also a few of your competitors are there. So if someone is searching for your competitors, they will see you
Yeah.
also, and then you just want to stay top of mind. So I think it's a really good idea to be there.
Oh yeah,
Um,
and I gotta say that I think that one of the major holdbacks, because with our solution is its price point. So I think it's still unusual for Amazon to sell products within the couple $1,000 price range, but for most of the businesses out there, whatever product they're selling, it would make sense to be on Amazon. It's just for us. I know that Amazon is trying to go with
B2B
the
solutions, and
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
a lot more now,
yep.
but it's still early for them. And but it's still worth it for us to be there and to advertise on Amazon and be represented uh, onto this website for sure.
That's really interesting. We know you had several role of leadership in your career at Creaform. What have been your best outcome for team management and product launch you had since the beginning of your career?
Um,
That's a tough one.
well, yeah, and I'm just trying to find ways to answer that question without repeating what I told you already. But well, I think that um, it's been a hell of a journey, and I think I took some chances, and that's probably the best advice that I can give to people out there is to take these chances, because I think that when you're working in the world of business, what pays is actually to take some risks. And you don't necessarily want to risk everything on a certain project, because chances are, there's huge probability that it's going to fail. uh, but if you put your position, if you put yourself in a position where you can learn from these failures, uh, eventually you're going to get where you want to go, and you are going to make it. So and I don't know if I'm answering your question correctly, but
Yes.
yeah, I think that's the message that I want to send out there is, you know, don't be afraid of failing, and put yourself in a position where you can learn from these failures, because if you do, you'll eventually be in a position where you'll win.
So it's a trial and error
Oh yeah, absolutely.
methodology that worked well for you.
Big time.
That's
Well, you
interesting.
know, there are fields of the industries which are quite well defined, and where you can get very accurate data and very accurate results. Uh,
Yeah.
but you know, once you get into unknown territories, you know, you have to figure it out. You have to find your way around, and there's really, you know, if I wanted to get a report on the 3D scanning sales onto that share of the market, you know, it would not have been available back then. I'm sure it
Yeah.
is right now, but back then it didn't exist.
Of
And
course.
so, and you never know how things are going to go. You know, you never know if you're going to be successful at selling. You know, we had some success at Creaform, but we didn't know if we were going to be successful into that completely different side of the business. We did not know if people were going to accept to put six, eight, or $10,000 onto their credit card, have it shipped to their location, you know, purchase without seeing the product. So there was a lot of unknowns, and but we eventually figured it out, and I think we came up with a working solution, and it's now a significant part of the business at Creaform.
And talking about success you had, I know you're pretty strong at video content through social network. Can you tell us a little bit more about your, your digital strategy and how you generate content and how you keep contact with your customer and you generate some leads with the social networks?
Well, yeah. So again, we went for the kind of exploratory approach, and you know, to me, it was all new, to be honest. You know, and back in 2017, I didn't even have a Facebook page. So is
Oh wow,
yeah, I was starting from pretty far.
from the bottom.
Um, yeah, but but yeah, so in we knew that social media was going to be a part of our strategy for sure, but we didn't really know, you know, which social media was going to be more successful than the other. And so we started heavily on relying on Facebook, because everyone's on Facebook basically,
Yep.
and you can do a lot of profiling on Facebook, which helped us a lot, find prospects and find potential leads, and so we were generating a lot of traffic on Facebook, and so it felt like the right platform. But more recently, one of my colleagues that joined the team, her name is Libya, and she started giving a bit of interest to Instagram, because we were
Mm.
starting to see these uh, posts from some of our customers being posted on Instagram, and so she started taking care of that social network specifically. And you know, within only a few months, we had more subscribers onto our Instagram page than onto our Facebook account. So it feels very natural, and that's what's
Yeah.
great with this exploratory approach is, you know, once something is kind of that easy and that natural, it's probably because you're going the right way. And so
Hmm.
yeah, it sort of came to us that Instagram was actually a good media for us, and a good place to show our colors, our scanner, our solution, and it was just a place we had to be on.
Yeah, I just saw that one guy scanned the face of Mark Zuckerberg and
Yeah,
printed it
yeah,
out.
yeah,
That's pretty fun.
yeah,
So lots of good content, and of course I think Instagram is made to inspire people and make them discover things and product, and by the algorithm, I'm sure that most of your clients are getting targeted with the hashtags and
yeah.
all that stuff. So that's really interesting. In terms of email marketing strategy, I know I'm outside of the bounds of my questions, but I'm really interested into the strategy you put in place. What are you doing in terms of marketing automation and email marketing campaigns? Because I think when the client gets the first point of contact with the brand, I don't think he's purchasing at the first step he he enter in your funnel, and you're also generating leads in other countries. So how are you managing that, and how do you turn a lead to a customer?
Yeah, so a lot of people are going to find us from internet searches. So a lot of people come from Googling, are going to visit our website. So people are mainly looking for 3D scanners out there, and so Peel 3D is well, we I think we got some good SEO and some good referencing, and so. People are going to eventually wind up on our site if they're looking for a 3D scanning solution. Uh, Once they get to our website, we try to give them all the information that they need in order to secure their purchase and convince them that the scanner is going to fit into their application. Um, we also do have a lot of things like videos on YouTube, the descriptive videos out there.
Mhm.
Um, and we also implemented a chat. So there's a live chat onto our website. So if people are there and are interested into figuring something in particular, they can always get in touch with someone. Or if for some reason, for instance, if we're out of the business hours and we're not around, if you type something into our chat, it's going to send us an email, and we'll get back to the customer directly. And yeah, so it's and I think I lost track of the question. What was the question
About
again?
the email marketing strategy,
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
okay.
the failing marketing. Sorry, and
uh,
yeah. So when you get to our website, there's going to be an invitation to join our marketing mailing list,
yep,
and so our website is built onto Shopify, and
yep,
it's actually we're using Klaviyo, which
okay,
is a mass mailer, a very efficient mass mailer, and and so that's what we're mainly using. So we're building our subscriber lists, and you know around, I'd say, once a month or so, we'll send. It's basically a newsletter, but it's formatted as a direct email from me, and it's written as a direct email
oh,
to
okay,
our prospect, to our customers. Yeah, it's a very interesting strategy, and so
okay.
far we've had great success with that. Great opening rates, great click rates, and yeah, pretty much every time that we send out a newsletter, there's someone who purchases. So it's not necessarily related to the topic of the newsletter. It's quite random, but just being connected and being reminded that we exist. Some people are going to say, "Hey, it's time for me to purchase my scanner," and are going to come to our website and convert into a sale. So quite
That's
interesting approach and result. Yeah.
that's cool. So maybe you just get another touch point into another context where the client is ready to close.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
that's really interesting. Let's finish this podcast with my final questions. How do you stay up to date about your industry, about the e-commerce and marketing strategies? So how do you stay up to date to have new ideas? I always ask that question to every of our guests to make sure to don't miss any source of truth. So what's your strategy for that?
Well, yeah. So of course, there's a lot going on out there, and there's a lot to know about e-commerce and about what's going on the web, and so we try to do our best to stay aware, and we communicate with a lot of our resellers and resources out there now that are heavy contributors to our solution. But I think one of the key aspect in order for us to be successful on the e-commerce side of things was to collaborate with Novetize, as you're probably aware. So the team there has been doing quite well as to suggest us with strategies to implement and how to diversify our business and the things that we should test or try. And so every I'd say week or so we come up with something new that we want to try, something else, and we try to learn from there, and everything that works we communicate to our sister company, to Creaform. And
That's interesting.
yeah, it's whatever works with Peel we try to implement in Creaform, and it usually works because it's been tested. And so that's our way we contribute to the business of Creaform and to the success of the entire brand.
That's really interesting to see
Yeah.
that even if you're still a small company, you can help a huge company with few new ideas. So
Yeah.
it's the proof that you're doing something good.
Well, yeah, I mean, we really like to think of Peel 3D as our lab and our
Mm,
channel for testing things, because we could do testing with Creaform as well, but Creaform is so big now, and we're not so interested in failing with Creaform nowadays. So
yeah,
we'd rather
so much to
have
risk.
something not working so well with Peel, but then whatever works, we'll communicate and transfer it to Creaform afterwards. So it just makes sense.
Thank you so much, Francois, for being with us today. I'm sure everybody have really appreciated that podcast. Do you have an ending note or something you want to say, or that's pretty
Well,
cool for you?
first of all, thanks for having me today. It's always fun to do these interviews, and I think we had a great time.
Yep.
I'm just I'm so grateful for doing what I'm doing today, and I really think that a lot of people should try it. If you have an idea at the back of your head and you feel it could contribute to your business, you should really try it. And don't be afraid of failure. But then again, don't put everything on the line, so that if you fail, you can learn from it and start again, and eventually find the right way and find your win. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Francois. Have a nice day.
Thanks a lot.